Hello students, this is Miss Reed again. Welcome to another video. We're actually going to start this video at the end because I want you to know what your learning target is, what your exit ticket is going to be after today's learning. So after we learn about the events of the Whiskey Rebellion, you will be able to describe the leadership qualities that George Washington demonstrated when he solved America's debt crisis and put down the Whiskey Rebellion. So keep in mind as we go through the next events, was George Washington showing that he was a problem solver? Did he have listening skills? Was he trustworthy? Did he forgive people? Was he showing perseverance? That means you don't give up even when the challenges are hard. Did he have a vision of what America's future should be? Okay, keep those in mind. All right, so as you remember yesterday, we talked about as our first president, George Washington set many precedents. And one of the most important precedents came after the Whiskey Rebellion, when George Washington proved the authority of the federal government. So here's the story of the Whiskey Rebellion. Okay, we know that the United States was in debt to France by help from the fact that they helped us during the American Revolution. France had provided soldiers, ships, and weapons to help defeat the British. And we couldn't pay off this debt because the paper money that we had made under the Articles of Confederation was worthless. And that government was too weak, and it did not even have the power to tax, which is a government's main way of making revenue. So George Washington, he went to get advice. He asked his cabinet advisor, Alexander Hamilton, who was Secretary of the Treasury, for help. Hamilton said the United States needed to put a tax on whiskey in order to make money for the government. Whiskey was a popular drink. It could produce revenue very quickly for the government. And then the United States needed a national bank in order to deposit the tax money and then print more paper money if needed. All right, but this tax on whiskey made a group of farmers in Pennsylvania really upset. They felt like their civil liberties were being violated, just like the British had done to them years earlier. These farmers organized the Whiskey Rebellion, and they violently protested the tax. They burned down the house of a tax collector, and a group of about 1,200 of these farmers marched to Pittsburgh with their torches in hand, ready to burn down the town. George Washington was not going to allow that violent rebellion to threaten the future of the United States economy. He decided to force the farmers to pay the tax. George Washington, he gathered a battalion of 13,000 troops, and then he led them himself to Pennsylvania near Pittsburgh to meet those farmers. Washington is the first and the only president to have actually led troops into battle. And when George Washington appeared on the battlefield in Pennsylvania, he offered the protesting farmers amnesty, which means forgiveness, if they laid down their weapons. The farmers agreed, and any further violence was avoided. Some of them were sent to court because they had broken the law, but there was no more violence. The whiskey tax was paid, and the United States was able to pay off its debt to France. And then with Washington's show of force and his ability to negotiate, he was able to prove the authority of the federal government. All right, so think about that story you just heard about the Whiskey Rebellion and solving our debt crisis. What leadership qualities did George Washington show? Did he show his experience on the battlefield? What about power? Was he hardworking? You be the judge. I'll ask you to describe at least one leadership quality and explain how that leadership quality helped him resolve the debt crisis that America was facing. Bye.